Hi, welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvine. And today, my good friend and business colleague, Brandon Lucero, is back on the podcast with us, talking all about the video 4X effect for scaling a business with using video. This is a proprietary method that Brandon uses with top online entrepreneurs to really get them seen, their message heard, and to get them out as an authority in their space and not just blend in with the masses. You gonna want to pen in a piece of paper because Brandon really throws down some amazing actionable steps to really start to put this video 4X effect into practice in your business. I cannot wait for you to hear all the gold that is going to be given with this podcast episode and get you really using a medium that allows for your perfect client to see you, to start to know you and trust you so much faster, so much easier, and so much more fun. So here we go. Brandon Lucero, the 4X effect for scaling a business. Here we go. Brandon, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on. Excited to be here.
Okay, in the intro, I'm sure people are like, holy moly, like this whole 4X effect that you've created that has really exploded some of the most known businesses out there, mine included, and people like James Wedmore and a few other people, which I don't mind you mentioning. I'd love for you to kind of rewind, talk about with my listeners, just the idea of why video, why now, why is this so important for entrepreneurs to have a plan for video and how your methodology is just different than anything else out there on the market?
Yeah. So the first thing, and we'll dive into why video first. And that basically is, I'm a big believer in getting the right message to the right person at the right time. And I also am a big believer in using like Facebook and Instagram right now because we can get instant traction on our videos. Mm-hmm. So instead of like, trying to do everything organically and try to slowly build over time, I mean, for $1, you can run your video as like an engagement ad or video view ad, and you can get almost 100 views for $1 and you get instant traction. So that's the first reason why. But when we want to control the message, meaning that we get the right message, the right person at the right time. And as people get warmer, we continue to like move the messaging around. You can't really do that with a podcast. I mean, I love podcasts. Obviously we're on a podcast right now and podcasts are great, but we still want to incorporate, and I see you turning your podcast into videos and YouTube videos. And so the reason why we can do that is because, again, we can control the message. We also get to build remarketing audiences off of it. So not only getting instant traction, but we're building an audience kind of behind the scenes. So we're adding value, we're building an audience. We can also build an email list from it. And when we look at like just a podcast by itself, and we look at just a blog by itself, and we look at all the other options of content available to us, video is literally the only one that can get the right message to the right person at the right time, because you can control it if you decide to use advertising, which I don't care if you're just starting out or you're the advanced person. Everyone can figure out how to run a video view campaign. I mean, you can probably just go to YouTube and find a tutorial on it, on running it, and it's very inexpensive and you get instant traction. Now, if we look at all the other reasons as to why, I don't want to like bore people to death with statistics and stuff, but it's the only medium that allows us to hit all the senses. And I know how important it is to people in different ways. So it's like we have the visual, we have the audio, and when you combine those together, it's way more powerful. Like for example, if I said I'm playing with my kids at the park, or you read that line of text like in a blog post, not that powerful. You hear me say it, a little bit more powerful because I'm can use my fluctuation and different things like that. But then I can show you me playing at the kids with my park with dramatic music, and that's going to make your entire body feel some kind of emotion, and I can control that emotion. So in short, that's why we love video.
And I just want to like say yes and amen to that from a brain-based perspective. I got to participate in a study on trust, and 72% faster you will trust somebody when you can see them and hear them at the same time versus just hearing or reading something from them.
That's unbelievable.
So, and it's how we're made, right? We're made for community. We're made for connection. And even though we can connect through a voice, and I love podcasting, but you're right, I'm turning so much of it into video now.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about it, like you've been on a course and all of a sudden you feel like this person that I'm taking a course from is my best friend because I'm with them every single day.
Yeah.
And that's because you're seeing them.
Yeah, 100%. And the cool thing too is that video doesn't need to be this big, huge production. I mean, a lot of our ads we film with just my phone. In fact, we're coming up with a new video Instagram strategy, and it's just going to be me recording with my phone, editing on my phone, and within 5 minutes posting to Instagram. And that kind of moves me into like the most important part of video, which is the messaging. It's how you're communicating and what you're saying and the type of content you're using that by far trumps anything as far as like what camera to use, how to edit, any of that stuff. Like as long as you're saying the right things at the right time, that's the most important thing with video and content. And that's kind of where we, with the video 4X effect really lean into, because it's more about, I call it our $1 million messaging framework. It's really how do we get the right message to the right person at the right time that allows someone to stand out, gets instant traction, and also most importantly, creates demand for your product. At the end of the day, content is marketing, and marketing's supposed to bring you an ROI, but so many people never take that into consideration, and they just start posting content for the sake of posting content, and then they see no traction, and then they're like, sit there wondering why, like what's going on.
Saying this doesn't work or what's wrong with me and that kind of thing. So I would love for you to dive into the methodology, because as you well know, it's something I've worked with Brandon for the last 1.5 years. And this content is all through not just my videos for Epic Success Academy, but all through you'll even notice it in my podcast interviews now, which is really
interesting. Oh, it's awesome.
Infiltrated in, because it is how we think. So I would love for you to just dive in and really walk my listeners through this magical methodology that you have.
Yeah. So I'll kind of go over what the video 4X is, and then I'll dive into the $1 million messaging framework that kind of drives everything. It's kind of like the engine that makes everything run. So basically, in order to make video work and to get really fast traction, we have 4 pillars, and these are 4 things that you have to do. And number 1 is identify what your impact and revenue goals are. And the reason why this is so important is because, again, content is marketing. Marketing's supposed to bring you an ROI. And how do you make sure your content's bringing an ROI if you're not considering like what you're selling and what your goals are? So that way you can look at it and go, okay, this is where I want to go. What kind of content's going to help me get there? And then you can measure if you're actually getting there. That's number 1. And then what that does is that stops you from creating content for the sake of creating content. It's very intentional. Number 2 is we need impactful messaging. And this is really like even if you just nailed this pillar, you're going to see amazing results. So impactful messaging, and I'll come back to this one and give you guys the framework here, but impactful messaging is using things like thought reversals, influence persuasion. How are we properly communicating the message so people like are, oh my God, I need that right now. How do we structure content? What type of content do we do? Is it all how to? Is it thought reversals? Is it connection-based videos? How do we connect based off of beliefs and identity? It's all of that type of stuff. So it's basically like, I can give you the secret strategy to getting a lot of views on videos, but it's not going to do you any good until you know how to properly communicate and use ethical influence persuasion. And that's where this pillar, and this honestly, this is where most of my clients come to me for is this pillar in particular. So that's number 2. Pillar number 3 is the synergistic strategy. So instead of just focusing on YouTube or just Instagram or just Facebook, how do we get all 3 platforms to work together? And instead of having individualized efforts on each one, how do we have one effort that gets distributed amongst all of them so they play off of each other and get really fast growth? So that way you're everywhere to everyone. Again, that way we control the right message to the right person. The way we like to explain it is as soon as someone sees one of our videos and they experience it, I don't leave them alone. Like I show them another one and another, regardless of what platform they go onto. And so we're not being everywhere to everyone, but we're being everywhere to the specific people that are showing interest in what we're selling. And that's key. And then the last pillar is the workflows and the video workflow, so that video is hands off for the entrepreneur. So like as the entrepreneur, even if you're just starting out, there's ways to actually set up workflows where all of your content gets done for you without you having to be the one editing, posting, filming, and doing all of that stuff. So what most people come to me for is that second pillar, and really the third pillar is like, what's the strategy? And this is what I call the $1 million messaging framework. And Do you want me just to go like straight into it,
Yeah,
or?
I would love for you to, because I'll be honest with you, I agree with the title.
Okay.
I have proof of that.
Well, yeah, and that's the reason why we came up with the title is because the first people that started coming to me with, wanting me to help were all people that were either at the 7-figure level or getting there, and we've helped them go from either 7 to multiple 7, and James is now even in the 8-figure range, and I believe you're in that same range too. Is like you went from actually, I don't know your numbers when we started working together, but I know you're up at that level now, and so that's what most people come to me from. And the reason why it's so effective is because we keep everything pointing to one North Star,
Mm.
and we move people to the 5th level of market sophistication. So what I do is I look at what people are actually doing. What's their unique process? What is uniquely them? What is their unique mechanism that makes them different than everyone else? Like, even if, I continued just teaching only YouTube and I was teaching people how to rank videos, I would find a unique process of how I rank videos, give it a name, and no one else would be able to teach that process because it's my own name that I made up. So now I'm running my entire business off of this methodology, this proprietary and process that I created. And so the 5 levels of market sophistication are basically, you're the first one to a marketplace, like you're the first one teaching Pinterest or YouTube or whatever. So you see success.
Mm-hmm.
Then level 2 is like, you're still doing okay, but more and more competitors are coming in. Now it's like full blown, everyone's teaching it and you just blend in with everyone else. Level 4 is like, you're trying to find these new ways to make yourself different and you're starting to get a little bit more traction. And then level 5 is like, you're in your own space.
Yeah.
And that's where we get people to, is that 5th level of market sophistication. But then the cool thing is when we identify, okay, this is my process, all of our content has to fall within that process. So for me, I have 4 pillars, like I described to you guys. I will never do a single video, like a how-to video, that doesn't fall within those pillars. If you look at any of our content, any how-to video I do, it's teaching either the entire methodology, a part of the methodology, one of the pillars, part of one of the pillars. That way, every single piece of content is pointing to methodology. But the beautiful thing here is that the methodology is your course, it's your offer, it's your product.
Yeah.
So if all of your content is pointing to the methodology and the methodology is what you sell, then now your content is being connected to the offer. And that's what most people miss.
Yeah.
Now, take it a step deeper. If I'm going too fast, just let me know. But
Brandon and I both have the speak fast gene. So to me, he's fine. I think you're doing great.
Okay. And then, so if we want to take it a step further, and this is where it gets really fun, and this is where like most of our work actually happens, is we create 2 identities within our content. So I create something called the struggling avatar. And anytime I'm in my content, I'm talking about, here's the mistakes that people do, I give that person a name. So for me, I call it the unheard failing entrepreneur. So I'll say things like, what most people do with content is they just do stuff based off keywords. They focus only on how-to content. They're not intentional. And I call those people the unheard failing entrepreneurs because no matter how much content they put out, they don't seem to get any traction.
Yeah.
And if that person I just described is you're now attaching yourself to the identity, the unheard failing entrepreneur. And no one wants that identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then we create a future-paced hero, which I then, for us, it's called the new generation entrepreneur. I would say, what the new generation entrepreneur does is they stand out because they stand for something. They focus on content that shifts perspectives. They grow a lot faster than everyone else because they're in the 5th level of market sophistication. And in today's video, that's what I'm going to teach you guys how to do. So what I just did is, just in the intro of my video, I just said, hey, there's this identity on the left. There's this identity on the right. You're the one on the left, but you want to be the one on the right. And my video is going to be the solution for you. But guess what? What I'm teaching in the video is my methodology. So now I'm creating demand for my methodology. And this is why content should be, or how content does like 70% of the selling. And there's different types of videos we can do. We can do how-to videos, we can do connection-based videos, we can do thought reversals. And I'll give you guys an example. So this kind of all comes together with Caitlin Batcher, who's one of our clients. And so with Caitlin, we basically went from a brand new product at 0 sales to over $1 million, I believe, in the first 8 months or something like that, following what I'm about to give you guys right now. So what we did with her is we focused on 3 types of content. We focused on how-tos and educational, which are pretty standard.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that pointed back to her unique methodology, which is called the scale method. Then we focused on connection videos. And essentially what a connection video is identifying what your identity is and what your audience's identity is. So with Caitlin, and everyone has a bunch of different identities. Like, for me, I'm a mountain biker, I'm a father, I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur. Those are, to me, those are all part of my identity. So what we did with Caitlin is looked at her audience and like, what are the identities that she has that her audience also has that are still related to what she sells?
Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to interrupt you because this is what's so powerful about this medium that you're talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, and then you correct me if I'm wrong, I might be wrong, but I remember this connection video because I couldn't stop watching it because I'm a mom.
Yep.
I have kids. Is it that one?
Yep.
So she was talking about the time when she was a mom and she forgot to go pick up her child because she was in the middle of a launch and she was so sucked into it.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, like the first time I saw that, because I'm a mom and I launch and I do all these things, like my heart just broke. Like I felt so connected to her.
Yeah.
That fast.
That's what I'm talking about is we identify like, what are the stories or beliefs that she has that the identity of the other person would have. So we really leaned into the mother entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And so a lot of her connection videos are basically things like moms make the best entrepreneurs. And then we just use influence persuasion to like back it up and show people that this is right. Like, mothers are tough. They're the ones who hold the house together. They're also usually, and they're also the ones that hold the businesses together because they have both skills. Like they're the toughest people in the world. All of this stuff that starts to reinforce that identity that her audience is going to have.
Yeah.
And then, so now we have how-to, we have connection videos based off of that. And if you want to look at a connection video, like, although I don't believe with his message 100%, but Gary Vaynerchuk is like, primo at this. He reinforces the identity of the entrepreneur. So he doesn't sit there and give you like 5 steps to whatever, but he'll reinforce like, we're an entrepreneur and we do this. And he just reinforces the identity and look how fast he's growing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're more or less like rant videos, I guess, but it's more about you just like talking about what you believe to be true and in a way that that they will relate as well.
Okay.
Now, the last piece, and I'll show you guys how this all comes together, last type of video is going to be what I call thought reversals. And these are also identifying the beliefs that your industry has, but that are mistakes. Mm-hmm. So for Caitlin, she teaches evergreening. And so in her opinion, launches are not the way to grow a business online because it has inconsistent revenue and one failed launch could like put you in a spiral and a lot of stuff like that. So what she'll do is use thought reversal videos. So she would then do a video that says something along the lines of launches are the worst thing you can do to grow a business online. And the intention behind that is to be extremely polarizing, right? To grab attention. We want to like put you in the 5th level market sophistication. We want to be very polarizing, but if you're going to be polarizing, you better be able to back it up. And so what she'll say next is like, I understand a lot of gurus are telling you like how to launch and how to do that stuff. And it does have its place and it does work. But when we look at the Fortune 500 companies out there, none of them run their business off of launches. They have predictable, scalable revenue, and they know when and where they're getting their revenue month after month after month. And if the Fortune 500 companies are doing that, why are you not doing that inside of your business? And what happens if you have one big failed launch? Where's your business going to be? And now what we did is we just shifted people's perspective. We got them to see launching in a different way. And now that sets up her to come in and be like, so what's the secret? Well, instead of doing launches, you can still create launch size revenue month after month after month. And that's with the scale method. So how do we do that? Well, we need to evergreen. We focus on boom, 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 boom. And now what she just did is position the scale method as the solution. So let me break this down in a real world scenario. Imagine you're just like scrolling through Instagram, you're a female, you're a mother, you're an entrepreneur, and you see Caitlin talking about how mothers make the best entrepreneurs. You're like, wow, I really love this girl. I love the message, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, she shows you a thought reversal video because now we can retarget you. And it's all of a sudden, it's like launches are not the best type of thing. And she shifts your perspective and positions the scale method. You're like, oh my gosh, yeah, she's so right. I love her. I love what she's saying. This method makes so much sense. Then you see a how-to video on like how to set up your first evergreen funnel. And then you're like, okay, I'm ready for the scale method. I love Caitlin. And then all of a sudden now she shows you the ad. You're already sold. Like
Yeah.
the selling's been done. And this is why the $1 Million Messaging framework is so important, because it shows people what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. Again, right message to the right person at the right time. There's a special sequence of going from connection video to how to thought reversal, and then all of a sudden showing the ad. And this is why, like, Caitlin was able to go from 0 to over $1 million in 8 months. My own business went from 0 to over $1 million in about 9 to 10 months. James's launches went from $800,000 launches. I think the last one was like over 4 million.
4 million, yeah.
Like, just massive changes. And it's all because of the messaging. So we focus less on doing so much different type of content, but being very intentional with what piece of content, what is the message, and how do we pull someone through. And actually, instead of sitting there trying to like convince people to buy your stuff and feeling like you just want to scream at the top of the mountain, like, I can help you, people actually understand and see why they need it. And they have an internal demand for wanting what you're going to sell
more, right?
Yeah.
So then my question leads to, I imagine people who are struggling doing video hear this and go, oh my goodness, this sounds like a lot of work. Like, how do I even get started with making all of those videos, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so the first thing is I always tell people, there's not a secret way to produce a lot of content. It doesn't need to be professional. Like, you could do this on live streams. You could do, like you said, you incorporate a lot of this in your podcast. So a lot of the $1 Million Messaging framework, it can be applied to a million different things. You can use it in ad copy. You can use it in emails. You can use it on podcasts. You can use it on live streams. The idea is no matter where you're going, you want to make sure you're saying the right thing to the right person at the right time. And what happens is, because we're very intentional, it means we can actually put out less content and still get amazing results. Like last year, we grew so fast. I didn't have time to put out consistent content. I wanted to, but I just didn't have the time.
Right.
So anytime I felt like I needed new customers, I just put out another video following this framework, and it worked so well. It's like, boom, we got a flood of new people, or we were getting ready for like a launch, or we were getting ready for something. We would then just start putting out content. And so what this does is it gets away from that constant grind of feeling like you have to put out endless amounts of content, because we just get very laser focused on what we need to do. And really, at the end of the day, all you're really following is just a framework. And you have to remember, what you get started with will not be what you end with. It's always changing. You're going to see people respond to things that you didn't think they would, and vice versa. And you just have to put it out there. It's like, I tell people there's 3 things that you need to be successful. One of them is experience. For example, you don't learn to ride a bike by reading a book.
Right.
Like there's this, and if I would ask you, like, hey, how do you bounce on a bike? You can't give me the steps. It's a feeling, it's a knowing of how to do it. There's a difference between knowledge and knowing. Knowing comes from the experience. So even if you feel overwhelmed, you just have to take those first steps. And even if it's just you doing a live stream and trying it out, that's fine. Just go do that. The second thing you need is messaging. And that's kind of what I'm talking to you guys about today. And, that's why I can give 100 people the same strategy to sell online. Like, go do a webinar, give you my webinar strategy. They're all going to get different results. Why? Because of what they're filling the strategy with. Like, what are they saying on the webinar? What are they saying in the ads? That's the trick. And then the last one is what you know very well, which is mindset and how you think. Yeah. And, that can literally make or break your success. But when you can combine all 3 of those together, you have the formula. And so my mission on this planet is to give people the first 2, which is to encourage them to get that experience. But more specifically, like, let me show you how to get $1 Million Messaging, because that can make or break your entire business. Like, it really can.
It can. And one of the things that I've seen you do with myself and with other clients that are part of the Sold with Video family and the Forex Effect is you make it so simple. I think we overcomplicate this whole online video presence thing, and we make like fill our calendars with all this stuff, but you have a process that I now, try to follow, where you actually create a lot of your material in a short period of time. Can you talk a little bit about that idea?
Yeah. So what you want to do is you just want to batch everything. And so, like, when we work with a client, for example, we'll literally film 6 months of content in 3 days. And one of the reasons why is because I know what the end goal is. I know what the message is. And we start to just craft the content. So we say, okay, we have like 6 connection videos, we have 6 how-tos, and we have like, 6 thought reversals. And then we just map it out. And then we just set up the camera with our clients and we just say, okay, go through the material. Like with how-to videos, your stuff, most people know their stuff so well, they can just get in front of the camera and talk.
Yeah.
With thought reversals, we're a little more scripted, and then they're basically just reading a script. Like, for example, we worked with Carrie Green from the Female Entrepreneur Association. We scripted out thought reversal videos just using a straight process and formula that all of our students and clients go through. And then she basically just read it off the screen. So we were filming thought reversal videos in 5 minutes,
Wow.
or 2 minutes. And what we had done is we just put a mic next to her laptop, and she was just reading the script real passionately, but it looked like she was like being interviewed on a podcast episode. And so we just put the camera off to the side, and it looked like she was doing like an interview like we're doing right now. And she was just on a passion rant. And so, if you film out or script out 5 videos, you can film all 5 in 25 minutes, and you do 1 a week. That's like over a month's worth of content right there. And we actually did that process with Caitlin. I mean, we've used that style of video to get millions of views, and literally like they filmed most of them in just a few minutes. And it's a very easy process, but it has to be planned out. And so you just get in front of the camera, you just boom, 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 boom. And then now you do a video a week, and all that content is ready to go. I mean, if you want to take it a step further, you could even like repurpose that content into smaller clips. And I mean, it's not uncommon for us to end up, doing a 3-day shoot and then using our workflows and stuff, having maybe 100 videos for the client to use for the next 6 months.
Right.
And, they can pretty much almost post a video a day at that point, if they really wanted to.
Yeah, if they really wanted to. So I almost can hear my entrepreneurs, the struggling entrepreneurs that are sitting there saying, oh, this is great for you 7-figure entrepreneurs that can afford to hire, all these professionals. But what about me? I don't have a budget. I don't have how am I going to create this kind of energy within this business I'm trying to grow? So I'd love for you to address what would take them from that kind of struggling thought process to the person that can become a 7-figure entrepreneur because they're thinking a little bit differently.
Yeah. So I can always tell how much money someone makes within a 5-minute conversation. And the conversation when someone gets to 7 figures is much different than someone at 6 figures. And the conversation usually shifts from how am I going to make this work versus I can't do this. I'm so lost. I'm so whatever, but they're always looking for the solution. Right. And so they usually will not overcomplicate things. Like the 7-figure entrepreneur is just like, okay, I'm just going to go do it and see what happens and figure it out. So with that in mind, what I encourage you guys to do is to start to think like the 7-figure entrepreneur, and what are the ways that you can do it if you're not quite there yet. So, and I'll give you some options. Number 1, you can just film videos with your phone and just talk into the camera. As long as you say the right words, you're good. You can do Facebook Lives. There's no reason why you can't just sit in front of the camera and do a 5-minute Facebook Live and then use that as your content, as long as you're saying the right things and you're doing the right things. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 options that you can use that aren't going to take a lot of time, and they're not going to take a lot of effort. And honestly, it doesn't take a lot of skill to do. In fact, you might be doing some of that stuff already yourself, The other thing you can start to do is, if you want to get a little more fancy, is you can go to a site called onlinejobs.ph, and you can hire people in the Philippines, like virtual assistants, to do a lot of the work. And so my team right now, we have about 6 people in the Philippines, and we have about 6 people in-house. So we have I think 10 editors or something like that, just pumping out content. And when I first got started, I was broke, and I still found money to hire someone in the Philippines because they're like $2 to $5 an hour. And if you're only doing like a video a week, it doesn't take very long for them to just edit a very simple video together. So, I mean, you're probably talking like $20 for them to edit just a simple little video, if even that. And so there's always solutions to this. The thing is not to get in this state of overwhelm and panic and stuff, because that's not how a 7-figure entrepreneur thinks. They think of okay, this is a solution, I'm just going to go do it. And they realize that everything that's easy in their life now was once hard, but they did it anyways. And so that's where I would start to that's where I'd start to move your mind, but also use one of those 3 solutions to start pushing out some video content.
Well, that's awesome. So as people are getting going, excuse me, as people are getting going and they're starting to build this out, what's maybe something that they need to watch out for so that they can keep the momentum going and keep building that know, like, and trust factor through their videos?
The biggest thing, and this is me a little contradictory because of what I said earlier, where I said I would start and stop, but I wouldn't stop. And one of the reasons why is because, like, I've been doing this for years, and not only have I been doing it for years, but I've been doing it in so many other people's businesses that my experience has been exponentially, like, growing and amplified. So I have the experience to allow me to just kind of like pop up and pull in this messaging that will just like pull people in instantly. But for you just starting out, it's going to take a little bit of time to get going. And what you don't want to do is like find what's working and start getting this traction and then stop for 2 months and then all of a sudden try to pick up again. You want to carry that momentum through. And so I would say the biggest thing that you can do is actually just stop, because a lot of the times people try like little pieces of it. They're like, oh, Brandon's thought reversal is kind of cool, so I'm going to do one thought reversal. And they're like, yeah, the results were okay. Yeah. And, like I got engagement on it, but I haven't seen the ROI. It's like, well, this is a process. It's not like a one video and then I'm like, out. It's a continued thing that you have to keep going, and it keeps adjusting and it keeps getting stronger over time. I call it like the snowball at the top of the mountain. It's very small and you push it off the top of the mountain. It's very slow and small, but as it goes down the hill, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and goes faster and faster and faster and carries more momentum. That's what this is for businesses until it becomes an unstoppable force. The only thing is that it just propels the growth for you. So instead of it, getting to a certain point in 2 years, you're doing it within like 6 months because of the way the messaging is structured and the strategy is structured.
I love that. And we're experiencing that right now. Brandon did some thought reversals for us for the Epic Success Academy. And last time around, we were still like dialing in who it was going to. And so they did well, but they're running again right now, and they are just ridiculously crushing it. Like, I keep checking like with my ads person, like, are you sure? Yeah. I mean, it's just like, because it's the right message to the right person at the right time, and they're resonating with it. And it's just, and you get to say what's your truth, like what's really your truth, right?
Yeah. And that's what is most important, is we get you to stand out because you stand for something and you're talking about what you want to talk about. It's not like you're just forced to do things based off of surveys that you surveyed your audience and they told you what to do. Instead you're saying, no, audience, this is what I want to talk about, and you're going to follow me because of X, Y, and Z. There's a much more higher passion that comes out behind your content. And this is what I tell people. This is when you start creating movements, like when you have your own proprietary information and your own proprietary methodology or process, and you're talking about what you want to talk about, you're talking about your beliefs, you're connecting because of your beliefs, you start to create a movement of people that follow with you. And then when they see the struggling avatar and the future-paced hero, they're like trying to become that future-paced hero. And so when they like join your programs and stuff like that, you can say you have now become, the new generation entrepreneur. And you create this movement of people like, I am a new generation entrepreneur, I am this. And that's when you start creating that massive movement. The other thing that's really cool too, and probably why you might be seeing even better results this time around, thought reversals, is a lot of time when I start working with people, is not only are we just like working on thought reversal scripts, but we're working on the overall messaging of the entire company. So if you're just doing one thought reversal video, the audience might hear it and then they might go somewhere else and see different things. But then when you start to shift everything you're saying on your podcast, you start to shift everything you say in your future videos, you start to shift and like figure out what is my angle, what's my position, and then you run it again. Now the audiences have been even more prepped and primed, and now they're like rallying behind it. And so again, it's like that snowball, and it gets bigger as it goes down the mountain.
Yeah, I love this. All right. So I know that my listeners are in for a treat, because yes, I am blessed to work with Brandon, and it seriously is one of my secret weapons in my business. I'm totally transparent because I share all of what works really well. But Brandon, tell my tribe about your event that's coming up and how people can actually be in the room with you and start to like download this firsthand.
Yes. Okay. So we have our very first Video Forex live event. We only have about 30 spots left in the event. And basically what I did is I gave our Video 4X members first go, like, hey, you guys want to come to the event? So they're all coming to the event. And now we have 30 spots available. So I'm opening it up to the public and your audience specifically. And it's October 9th and 10th. And what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be walking you guys through the $1 Million Messaging framework and the new version of the Video 4X effect over the course of 2 days. So we'll have exercises. We're going to have hot seats. We actually have Caitlin Batcher coming in to talk about like how she's evergreening and scaling, how she's using the Video 4X and stuff. And I actually talked to her this morning. She said she has new training she's never given away for free to anyone before that she's going to be covering. So I'm really excited about that. And then we have Jim Thornton coming in as well. And then I believe, don't quote me on this because it's not 100% yet, but I think we have Mel Abraham and Rick Mulready coming in as well to be on the panel. Cool. And so we're going to do a panel at the end of the event where you can ask me. I think you will be on the panel too, and we'll have Caitlin on the panel, and we're going to have possibly and hopefully Mel and Rick on the panel. So you have all 5 of us, which are all 7-figure entrepreneurs. Yeah. Sit there, and it's only a room of 100 people. So we only have 30 spots left. It's a very small event where you can ask any questions you want for an hour. And by the end of the event, you're basically going to have the $1 Million Messaging framework handed to you. My program just to get in and to work with me, like our course is $2,000 just to work with me on the done for you level. It's like 15 grand a month. Our coaching program's about 12,000 for the year. The event's only $150. So you get to come in and get all of that same stuff and not only get it, but I'm there with you doing it for $150.
Yeah. I mean, to have Brandon coach you through your specific messaging is, I'm just telling you right now, it's gold. And I'm going to be there. Super excited about it. So how can, I will put a link in the podcast notes and in the video notes below, but how can they come just click the link and get their ticket, but get it quick, right?
Yes. Again, we only have 30 spots left. I haven't started running ads to like the new ad sets that we're going to be running. I haven't started running those yet. So as soon as we start running those, I'm sure it's going to fill up really quick. There's literally only 30 spots. It's not like this scarcity thing. It's I reserved a room for 100 people and we have 70 spots filled. So the URL will give you the link, but it's basically, it's kind of a long one, but it's pages.soldwithvideo.com/event-4x.
Okay, we'll put that in.
It's easier just to post it somewhere.
Yeah, we'll post it for sure in all the channels. To be in person in that small room, I love small room events because I feel like you get in and actually get the messaging done. You actually you walk out the door with this gold mine of your messaging, correct?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Brandon, like always, I'm always amazed at like how deep you go into how to grow our businesses, how to serve our people by actually speaking to the things they need the most and making sure that they're not selling themselves short by not getting our products and services because we're not communicating well enough. And your methods are just so beautiful because they work with the way the brain works. So of course, I'm for that all day long. But mostly, you really get the message and the mission and the calling that we have inside of us out in a way that just so resonates. So I just want to thank you for your genius out there in the world.
Yeah, thank you. That's nice. And it was, I mean, that's why I do what I do is like, I just believe there's other ways to add value than teaching steps all the time and just shifting people's perspectives and taking a stand for what you believe in and helping people properly communicate that. I think, like, I know a lot of people say this, but I feel like I can literally change the world with what we're doing. And I'm just so honored to be here in front of your audience and hopefully to see some of them at the event and just help people accomplish that. So I'm excited.
All right, Brandon. Well, we will help you in that mission to change the world. And I just want to thank you again for being on the podcast. It means so much to me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Wow. Mind blown. At least mine is. So many things that you can take and use today to really start growing your influence and impact online using the 4X effect with video. And I know Brandon did talk about his event that's coming up. I will be there. Listen, if you're like me and you learn best by being in the room, by really like asking the questions that you need answered, then definitely show up for that. The link's here in the podcast notes. I would love to see you in person. And I again want to thank you for listening to the Epic Success Podcast. I love you, and I love being able to train your brain to transform your business. Hey, by the way, if you haven't had a chance to take the quiz on all around the kind of money mindset you have, and do you have a money mindset like a 7-figure entrepreneur? If you haven't taken that, well, the link is down in the notes, and I want you to save the date for October 3rd, because we have an amazing online event coming to you where we're really going to break down how to build the way you think so that you can think like a 7-figure entrepreneur now, which will make it so much easier and so much faster to become one. So all that is down in the show notes. I'll see you next week on the Epic Success Podcast. Bye for now.